Many Death Note fans love L and his character. Some even prefer him over Light. But should L have beat Light Yagami and won? Many will argue L was smarter than Light, but we'll save that for another video. Starting off, L is obviously a genius, incredibly smart, was pretty even to Light in intelligence, an amazing detective. If anyone was gonna solve the Kira case, it was gonna be him. Now, Nier was the one who did, but his win was pretty flawed and unsatisfying. I feel like if anyone was gonna beat Light, it was gonna be L, and since it wasn't L, Light should have just ended up beating Nier. L was the only one that was actually properly capable of doing it from how the characters were written. He just had the best chance. We see at the beginning of Death Note, L comes up with all these ideas of how Kira could be killing, thinking of what's required or what does he need in order to kill, finding out that he needs a face and a name in order to kill. The fact that he even thought of this shows his great awareness and detailed thinking. As well as the fact that now let's get to when L had set up Lind L. Taylor for Light to take the life of. Many say this is the way L outsmarted Light. However, you can't blame Light for taking Lind L. Taylor's life. He didn't know L existed as some other person and was the intelligent person he was. And you have to remember, L doing this also kind of gave himself away to Light, because Light would now know what he's dealing with and how intelligent L was. If L had left himself more mysterious and Light was given nothing to work with, it would have been less obvious for him to know how to approach going against L or what to think of him. We see when L introduces himself to Light, but the problem with this is I feel he introduced himself too soon, and if he was gonna meet Light, he should not have let him know that he suspected him as Kira, or he should have at least acted and pretended to not be as intelligent as he is. But with Light seeing L right now in front of him, he knows what he's dealing with and he's being careful and cautious. Light was so intelligent, he was able to act in front of L as if he was not Kira and do things and answer questions as if he wasn't linked in any way to Kira. If L had waited to introduce himself to Light, he would have had a better chance because of Misa, the second Kira. If he still had the hidden cameras in Light's house, he could have caught Misa and Light with the Death Note, but he wasn't patient enough and put himself in the battlefield far too soon, which gave an intelligent person like Light an advantage and some help to a certain degree. Light approached the situations he was in with L perfectly every time. He went at things the best way he could. And you have to also remember that he had no control over the second Kira. He didn't choose for there to be a second Kira and Misa to do some of the things she did at the beginning that she did. So even if he had caught Light and Misa with the Death Note, if he had waited and still had the cameras in Light's house, it wouldn't have been Light's fault that he was caught. It seems Light just goes at everything perfectly. His approach to things is perfect. Whereas L, he's very intelligent, a great thinker, but his obsession with Light being Kira and interest in Light made him do things that were actually leaving himself open and taking away potential benefits he could be getting or things that could be helping him out. After a certain while, Light was so insistent on the fact that he wasn't Kira. Of course, everyone except for L believed him. L just thought he was the one that was capable of being Kira and saw how intelligent Light was, had thought of the type of person he thought Light was. But the situation he put himself in with his own actions led him into a position where, whether he knew or not that Light was Kira, he was never gonna win. At one point, Light gave up the Death Note and then was gonna have it come right back to him at some point. With his memory erased of ever having the Death Note, he was able to act perfect with L, because there was no way he was ever gonna slip up, because he didn't even remember that he was Kira. So my main point is, if L was a little bit more cautious, wasn't as confrontational, because L always had this more sneaky, mysterious, unknown approach, especially at the beginning. Of course, the police wanted to know who he was. They didn't feel like it was fair that they were working with him and they had a chance of being taken out by Kira and he was safe, not showing himself. This could have, of course, influenced him to take the steps of revealing himself more, not being as mysterious, as well as the fact that he interacted in some ways with the police and with Light, because his first approach of being mysterious and unknown was actually very much in his favor. If it had stayed this way, it would have been much harder for Light, especially since he needs a face and name to be threatening to a person and in order to take their life with the Death Note. Even how Light and L's mindsets are. Light's a much more self-believing, confident individual, whereas L not as much, which works in Light's favor. We saw how they both reacted to Shinigamis being real. At first, Light was caught off guard and a little bit scared, but quickly accepted it and wasn't that surprised. Whereas L, he was just completely shocked in fear, as if he just could never believe it. And I believe this reflects their mindset even more. It shows how Light isn't controlled by social norms and what he's told. And this also shows why he's okay with killing, because by social norms and society, it's seen as bad, terrible, you can never take a life. But he's not as easily influenced by society. Whereas L, the ideas put in your head by society, he's much more easily controlled by. Light has a much less limited mind, which makes him more ready for things, as well as going after things and making sure even more that he's doing things right. And I believe his confidence, self-belief, his ability to see outside of just what society portrays to him as right allows him to be even more dangerous. Whether you want to admit it or not, an intelligent person will approach situations in ways that will help them out and benefit them. And Light having this confidence and so much self-belief to the point where he's some sort of god is gonna work in his favor, because it's gonna push him, it's gonna motivate him, it's gonna keep him feeling good. And with him believing he's so powerful and a god, it's gonna make him even more self-reflective and accountable on his own actions. So he's gonna be more careful. He's gonna believe with who he is, he has to be so capable, which is going to make him look at all the details. It's just going to pretty much make him even more unstoppable. So with how Death Note played out and Light beating L, do I think L should have beat Kira and won? No, L should not have beat Light. I would also like to speak about comparing Light and L in future videos in other ways, like I sort of did in this video. But the way it happened was great. Light won the way he should have against L. Of course, L was a great character and a great rival to Light. However, the way things played out were accurate. L just should not have won. And I'm happy to see that things played out like they should have, and the fact that it made sense. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.